It all started the moment a 10-year-old boy named Caleb Reese leaned in close and quietly told me he didn't want any presents at the Toys for Tots drive. What he really didn't want, he said, was to spend yet another Christmas sitting alone in the common room of his group home, staring at the TV while everyone else went home to their families. Then he asked something that caught me completely off guard. He wondered if maybe he could help clean up after our party, just so he could be around people for a little while. Something cracked open in my chest right then, in a place I didn't even realize was sealed shut. That single conversation ended up changing both of our lives in ways I never could have imagined. What began as a panicked phone call to my wife, asking if we could host a lonely kid for the holidays, turned into a week full of firsts. That week became a permanent foster placement. 6 months later, it became a legal adoption. And over time, it grew into something bigger than just our family. An annual tradition we now call the Caleb Program, making sure no child in Stanislaus County has to spend Christmas alone. That year's Toys for Tots drive at the Veterans of Foreign Wars Hall in Modesto was pure chaos, the good kind. Volunteers were buried under piles of donated toys, sorting as fast as they could. Bikers hauled boxes into trucks while families wrapped around the block, waiting their turn to pick up gifts for their kids. The parking lot looked like a rolling sea of chrome and leather. There were more than 60 motorcycles parked out there, representing 3 different clubs. Groups that normally didn't mix had set aside their differences for the one thing everyone agreed on, making sure every kid in Stanislaus County had something to open on Christmas morning. I'd been organizing that event for 12 years by then, ever since I helped start the Central Valley Ironworks MC with a few Army buddies who were searching for purpose after coming home from Iraq. I was 49 at the time, short, stocky, shaved head, salt and pepper goatee, and arms covered in tattoos that told the story of 2 combat tours and 20 years of brotherhood. The nickname Woody came from my last name, but the guys liked to joke it was because I was built like a fire hydrant, short, solid, and hard to knock over. Truth is, I loved that event more than Christmas itself. Every year, I watched tough bikers, men who'd seen things that would break most people, turn into complete softies the second kids showed up. They lifted children onto motorcycles for pictures, handed out candy canes, and let kids try on their helmets. For one afternoon, everything felt right. Good people helping good people. Simple. I was carrying a box of action figures toward the sorting tables when I noticed him. The boy stood near the back of the hall, away from all the noise, watching everything with an expression I couldn't quite place. He looked about 9 or 10. Skinny, shaggy black hair falling into his eyes, and a seriousness in his face that didn't belong on someone that young. His coat was at least 2 sizes too big, the sleeves covering his hands, and his sneakers were worn thin. No adult stood nearby. No one called his name. I set the box down and walked over. "Hey there, buddy," I said. "You here with your family?" He glanced up at me, startled, then quickly looked away. "I'm with the group home," he said. "Green Meadows. They brought us here to pick out toys." I knew Green Meadows, a foster care group home on the east side of Modesto. Good people ran it, but like everywhere else, they never had enough staff or resources. 20 kids. For workers. Always stretched thin. "Well, that's good," I told him. "You find anything you like? We've got bikes, video games, all kinds of stuff." He shrugged. "I'm kinda too old for most of it. The little kids should get the good stuff." There was nothing rude about the way he said it. No attitude. Just acceptance, like he'd learned that wanting less hurt less. "How old are you?" I asked. 10. "I'll be 11 in February." "10's not too old for toys," I said with a grin. "I'm 49 and I still play video games when my wife's not looking." I crouched down so we were eye level. "What's your name?" "Caleb. Caleb Reese." "I'm Woody. Nice to meet you." I held out my hand. After a brief pause, he shook it, his grip careful, like he wasn't sure he was allowed to. "So tell me the truth," I said gently. "If you could have anything for Christmas, what would it be?" Caleb went quiet. Really quiet. When he finally spoke, his voice barely carried. "I don't want anything," he said. "I just don't want to be alone again." Those words hit me somewhere deep, a place I usually kept guarded. "Alone?" I asked. "What do you mean?" "At Christmas and New Year's, everyone goes home," he explained. "Staff takes time off. Most kids get visits from family or foster homes trying them out. But nobody ever comes for me." He swallowed. "I've been at Green Meadows for 3 years. Every Christmas, I sit in the common room and watch TV by myself. His jaw tightened as he fought to stay composed. It's okay, he added quickly. I'm used to it. Then he hesitated. I heard you guys talking about your Christmas party, he said. All the food. The families. He shook his head. Never mind. It's dumb. What is it? I asked. What were you thinking? For just a second, the wall came down. I saw the loneliness he worked so hard to hide. I thought maybe you needed help cleaning up, he said. I'm good at it. I could work for it. Just to be around people. I stood there, my thoughts spinning, and looked around the hall at my brothers and sisters, some of the toughest, most loyal people I've ever known. People who would ride through hell for each other. People who showed up without being asked. People who understood that family isn't about blood, but about making room for those who don't have one. Caleb, I said, steadying my voice, stay right here. I need to make a phone call. I stepped outside into the cold December air and dialed my wife, Maria. We'd been married 22 years. What's up? She asked. I'm in the middle of wrapping. Maria, I said, I need to ask you something, and I need you to say yes before I explain. I promise I'll explain everything right after. I just need you to trust me. There was a pause. Okay, she said. What is it? How would you feel about having a guest for Christmas? Not just dinner, I added. The whole week. Christmas Eve through New Year's. Woody, she said carefully, what's going on? There's a kid here, I told her. 10 years old. Lives in a group home. He spent the last 3 Christmases completely alone. Nobody ever comes for him. My voice broke before I could stop it. He just asked if he could clean up after our party, just so he wouldn't be by himself. The line went quiet. Then I heard her sniffle. Bring him home, Ray, she said softly. Bring him home. And don't you dare let that boy clean a single dish. After that, I made 3 more calls. The first was to Green Meadows, to explain everything and start the emergency approval process for a temporary holiday placement. And that was the moment everything changed. I made 2 more calls after that. One went to my club's vice president to get the brothers moving. The other went to my daughter, Sophia, who was home from college for winter break. Dad, are you serious? She said, her voice lighting up. That's amazing. I'll get the guest room ready right now. Does he like video games? I still have my old Nintendo Switch. By the time I walked back inside the hall, I had a plan. Caleb was still standing exactly where I'd left him, off to the side, watching everything. That same guarded look on his face. When he saw me coming, something flashed in his eyes. Hope. Then just as quickly, it disappeared, like he'd trained himself not to trust it. Caleb, I said, I talked to a few people, and I need to ask you something. His shoulders tensed. I recognized it immediately. That posture kids get when they're already bracing for disappointment. Like they're getting ready to pretend it doesn't hurt. How would you feel about spending Christmas with my family? I asked. Not just dinner, I added. The whole week. Christmas Eve through New Year's. He stared at me, frozen. You'd have your own room, I continued. My daughter's got a bunch of video games she wants to show you, and my wife is already planning to cook enough food for an army. What? He whispered. I know it's a lot, I said gently. And you don't have to say yes. But I already spoke with Green Meadows. They're starting the paperwork now. If you want this, it can happen. He shook his head, confused. I don't. Why would you? His voice cracked. You don't even know me. I know enough, I told him. I know you're spending Christmas alone, and that's not okay. I know you were willing to work just to be around people, and that breaks my heart. And I know my family has more than enough room, and more than enough love, to share with someone who needs it. I crouched down again, so we were face to face. What do you say, Caleb? I asked. You want to spend Christmas with us? He didn't answer out loud. Instead, he stepped forward and wrapped his arms around my neck, pressing his face into my leather vest. His shoulders shook as 3 years' worth of held-back tears finally let go. I held him right there in the middle of the VFW hall, surrounded by toys, surrounded by bikers, surrounded by the beautiful chaos of people helping people. I've got you, I whispered. You're not alone anymore. The paperwork took 2 days. My wife, Maria, is a social worker. She knows the system. She knows who to call. And she knows how to move things along when time actually matters. By December 22nd, Caleb Reese officially had a temporary holiday placement with our family. I picked him up from Green Meadows in my truck instead of the bike. Didn't want to overwhelm him on day 1. He climbed in with a single backpack, everything he owned. and stared out the window as we drove past neighborhoods glowing with Christmas lights and inflatable decorations. Your neighborhood does a lot of decorating, he said quietly. Wait till you see our house, I told him. Maria goes a little overboard. A little didn't even begin to cover it. Our place looked like a Christmas store had exploded on the front lawn. Lights everywhere. A giant inflatable Santa on a motorcycle dominating the yard. And a tree so big you could see it from 3 houses away. Caleb stopped on the sidewalk and just stared. You okay? I asked. I've never seen anything like this, he said softly. Not in real life. Well, I said, smiling, get used to it. You live here for the next 10 days. The front door flew open. Maria stood there, short, warm brown skin, and a smile strong enough to melt ice. Behind her was Sophia, 20 years old, home from UC Davis, tall like me and warm like her mom, waving like she'd been waiting all day. Caleb, welcome, Maria said. Are you hungry? I made tamales. Do you like tamales? If you don't, that's fine. I have other food. I have everything. Come in. It's freezing. Caleb looked up at me, unsure. Fair warning, I said. My wife's love language is food. You're probably gaining 10 pounds this week. I don't mind, he whispered. I've never had tamales. Maria clutched her chest like she'd been injured. Never had, she said. Okay, that's the first thing we're fixing. Sophia, she added, hot chocolate. Raymond, grab his bag. Caleb, sweetheart, come with me. Your education starts now. And for the next week, Caleb got to experience what a family Christmas is supposed to feel like. On December 23rd, he helped Sophia decorate cookies. Or more accurately, he ate frosting while she pretended not to notice, until she joined him. They watched Christmas movies until midnight. Caleb eventually fell asleep on the couch, wrapped in a blanket Maria had crocheted herself. On Christmas Eve, the Central Valley Ironworks MC rolled up for our annual party. 60 bikers, plus spouses and kids, filled a house that had no business holding that many people. Caleb went from nervous to overwhelmed to the center of attention. Brother after brother introduced themselves, ruffled his hair, slipped small gifts into his hands. A pocket knife from Diesel, a comic book from Tank, a hand-carved wooden motorcycle from Old Man Geppetto, who'd been a carpenter long before he was a biker. You're one of us now, little man, Tank told him. That means you've got 60 uncles watching your back for life. You ever need anything, you come to us. Caleb didn't know what to say. He just nodded, clutching that wooden motorcycle like it was made of gold. Christmas morning, I woke up early and found him sitting by the tree, not opening anything, just looking. You know some of those are for you, right? I asked. He turned, embarrassed. I didn't want to start without everyone, he said. That's how it works, right? Everybody together. That's exactly how it works, I told him, sitting down beside him. He smiled a little. I've seen it in movies, he said. I just never knew how it really went. At the group home, Caleb said quietly, they just put the presents by our beds. We opened them by ourselves. Well, I told him, not this year. This year, you've got a family. Maria and Sophia joined us a few minutes later, still in pajamas, coffee mugs in hand. And for the next 2 hours, Caleb opened gifts he hadn't asked for and hadn't earned. They were given simply because that's what families do. A new winter coat that actually fit him. Sneakers without holes in the soles. Video games for the Switch Sophia had already set up in his room. Books, because Maria had noticed him quietly reading the titles on our living room shelves. And then there was the last gift. A framed photo from the Christmas Eve party. 60 bikers standing shoulder to shoulder around one skinny 10-year-old kid holding a wooden motorcycle. Every single one of them smiling like they'd known him forever. Caleb broke down. Nobody looked away. Nobody rushed him. Maria pulled him into a hug and let him cry against her shoulder. Sophia wrapped an arm around him. I added mine. This is the best Christmas I've ever had. Caleb managed through tears. The best anything I've ever had. Maria kissed the top of his head. This is just the beginning, sweetheart, she said. You've got a whole week left. And after that, we'll see. The days between Christmas and New Year's were filled with more firsts than Caleb could count. His first time going to a movie theater. We saw the same animated movie 3 times because he loved it that much. His first time eating at a real sit-down restaurant. He ordered chicken fingers because he didn't know what else to choose. Maria didn't judge. She just smiled. His first motorcycle ride, just around the block. Borrowed helmet. Strict rules. hands gripping tight. And maybe the biggest first of all, the first time he felt like he truly mattered to someone. On New Year's Eve, we kept things small, just family and a few close brothers from the club. At midnight, we stood in the backyard with sparklers, counting down together. When the clock hit 12, Caleb felt arms wrap around him from both sides. "Happy New Year, Caleb," Maria said. "Make it a good one, buddy," I added. "I will," he said softly. "I already did." January came too fast. Caleb packed his backpack slowly, folding each new piece of clothing with care. He arranged the gifts so nothing would get damaged on the trip back to Green Meadows. He'd always known this was temporary. He'd prepared himself for the ending. That didn't make it hurt any less. I found him sitting on the guest bed, staring at his packed bag. "You ready?" I asked. "No," he said honestly, then added, "But I understand. Thank you for everything. This was the best week of my life." I sat down beside him. "Caleb," I said, "there's something I need to tell you." His body tensed again. That same posture, always bracing for loss. "Maria and I have been talking. A lot," I continued. "About you. About what happens next." He held his breath. "We're not ready to say goodbye," I said. "So we talked to Green Meadows. We talked to a lawyer. And we talked to Sophia, who threatened to disown us if we didn't do this." I took a breath. "We want to become your foster parents. Officially. Not just for holidays. Permanently." His eyes went wide. "And if everything goes well," I added, "and if you want this too, we'd like to adopt you someday. Make you a real Woodard." "What?" he whispered. "I know it's a lot," I said quickly. "There's no pressure. If you want to go back and pretend this week never happened, we'll understand." I swallowed. "But Maria and I don't have any sons. We always wanted one. And Sophia's been asking for a little brother since she was 5. My eyes burned. "We didn't plan this, Caleb. We weren't looking to foster or adopt. But then you whispered that you'd be alone again, and something clicked." I looked him straight in the eye. "You belong with us. We all feel it. The only question is, do you feel it too?" He didn't answer with words. He launched himself into my arms, sobbing yes, over and over until it stopped being a word and turned into pure sound. Relief. Joy. Belonging. 6 months later, the paperwork was final. Caleb Reese became Caleb Woodard in a courthouse ceremony attended by 60 bikers, a social worker who cried the whole time, and a judge who said it was the happiest adoption he'd ever overseen. Every year since, our Toys for Tots drive has included something extra. Not just toys for kids in group homes, but invitations. To dinners. To celebrations. To families. I call it the Caleb program. Because nobody should spend Christmas alone. And because you never know when the quiet kid standing off to the side is the one who's about to change your life. Caleb's 14 now. He plays drums in his school band, rides his dirt bike on weekends, and has 60 uncles who spoil him without mercy. Every Christmas Eve, he stands beside me at the toy drive, watching for the kids who stay in the corners. The ones who've learned to want less because wanting more hurts too much. Last year, he spotted one. A 9-year-old girl named Destiny from a group home across town. He knelt down in front of her and smiled. "Hey," he said, "I'm Caleb. You want to meet some people?" And just like that, the cycle kept going.